Well, here we go, guys. All right, so this is going to be a totally different kind of podcast, and I realize we probably start every podcast saying that. and there's a good reason why we start every one of our podcasts saying that. So this time, we're not sitting in Virginia at my son's house. He no longer lives in Virginia. He's in Arkansas now. We're not sitting at his house in Arkansas. We're not sitting in my house in Texas. We are, we have jumped the pond in a way, I guess. We got on an airplane yesterday. We're right now recording to you live. Well, actually, it's not going to be live when they hear it, but it's live to us right now. Yeah, we're live. I don't even know where we are. I know we're in Honduras. We are in Honduras. There's four of us sitting here. I'm here, and then also have my good friend Corey Calicott, and he's also our associate pastor at our church. And say hey to him, Corey. This is the voice of Corey.
This is my first time on Redneck Redemption.
Oh, yeah, this will be your first time on Redneck Redemption.
Man, should I change my accent just a little bit?
No. It's fitting already.
Well, hey, guys, I'm glad to be on here.
Also, just sitting beside Corey is the guy who helped us get the connection to come down here, and this is John Ward. And you know, a while ago, hey, your helper a while ago. Good night. What's his name? Luciano, I was talking to him a minute ago, and he said, "Are you the guy?" He was asking me. He said, "Are you the guy who like was teammate with his wife?" I said, "Teammate?" I said, "No, schoolmate." Yeah. He said, "Yeah." So we got to thinking. He said, "So you go a long way back with Mr. John?" And I said, "Well," and I got to thinking, and I started to say, "Yeah, nearly 20 years." And then I got to doing the math, and it's been nearly more than that, brother. Yeah, it's been nearly 30 years ago that we met, and hey, it's a joy to be here. John serves with a ministry that is here in Honduras, and tell them about the name of the ministry. Just lean to the mic a little bit.
Honduras Baptist Dental Mission, based out of Mississippi, but our ministry's been here about 45 years in Honduras.
45 years in Honduras, and you've been here how long?
I've been here just a little over 10 years.
He's been a part of this ministry for 10 years. Probably in a minute I'm going to get him to kind of tell a little bit of the story about how he ended up here. Also, to my left, right beside me, is another one of my good friends, Mr. How do you say Matthew in Spanish?
Mateo. But you can call me Pelon.
Call you what?
Pelon. It means...
no hair?
Yeah, no hair.
I could call all of you except for me, no hair, and me just little hair. Wow. Pelon?
A good way to translate would be cue ball.
Oh, yeah, cue ball. Okay, that's what pelon means?
Actually, sitting here at this table, 3 out of 4 heads are perfect, and only one has hair.
One had to be covered. It's only partially covered, though. All right, we never even said your name, Mateo. This is Matt. I almost said Matt Smith. This is Matt Fisk.
That's my CIA name.
Oh, that's the CIA name. That's the operative, undercover operative.
You know, we're
name.
getting off that plane. They had to think, oh, these guys are all CIA getting off this plane.
We got a few looks on
Yeah.
Especially when I was just trying to check in and my fingerprints wouldn't take.
Whatever.
Who is this guy?
Fried the fingerprint
Not
machine.
any
The passport.
system.
Yeah, the passport thing didn't fly. There's problems with this one's passport. Like, oh no, we're busted. Yeah. Well, go ahead. What did you start to say, Matt?
No, Matt Fisk will do.
Matt Fisk.
Yeah.
This is Matt Fisk. He is. Yeah, welcome, Matt. Welcome to Redneck Redemption. Welcome all you guys to Redneck Redemption.
He just said welcome, Matt. I get that a lot. That's not even original.
Welcome, Matt.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah. Hey. Great. Well, I can tell we're going to have some fun tonight. Hey, we got a few stories we want to share with you guys, and we don't really know 100% where this is going to go, but the Lord has done a lot of things to make it possible for us to be even having these conversations in the room we're having them in the part of the world we're having it in for the reason why we're here. And so, hey, we're here on just kind of a visionary trip to see what the Lord might want us and our ministries to do and being involved in what work is taking place here in Honduras. And we had a little bit of just an interesting time getting here. So when I first started talking about the possibility of coming down here, you know, God just kind of put it on my heart to come see John and see what they were doing. And then I started talking about it some, and Matt and I were having breakfast, and I mentioned something about Honduras, and his eyes went, doo! You know, he's like, oh, what did you say? Well, you going to go where? You going to go where? And then very quickly, early on, Matt said, hey, I want to be in on that if you really get that together. And so when we realized we were really getting it together, and I let him know about about dates and things, he then realized that he didn't have a passport.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, and that is a problem. So, so when he told me, he said, "Hey, look, I don't have a passport. My passport's expired. It's like it expired 20 years ago, probably, huh?"
Actually, yeah.
So Matt, I guess Matt has traveled the world since his passport expired without a passport. Now, how does a guy get by with that?
Well, when you have a military ID, you could go to any NATO country and you don't need a passport.
Okay. So Matt has quite a bit of military experience. So he just thought that since he was all that in a bag of chips with his military ID, he could just go where he wanted to go.
I'm not even that cool. I just didn't think about it. Oh, yeah, passports. We need these things.
So anyway, we got in the process of trying to get his passport. He calls me and he said, "Hey man, you better pray because how long did they say originally it was going to take?"
Oh, brother, they said it's 15 weeks to process, and I'm 6 weeks out from flying. And y'all moved out and face said, "Oh, we bought you the airplane ticket." I
Yeah,
said, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't have done that." But yeah.
It's money, Matt.
Okay, so 15 weeks out, I'm like, well, I need to go in 6 weeks. She said, "Well, you could do the expedited." I said, "Yeah, okay. How much will that shave off?" "It'll only be 12 weeks."
That's the government's expedited.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
So I think you paid a couple $100 extra to get it expedited, shaved off 4 weeks of it.
And that's just
3
moving out
weeks.
in faith too, because
Right.
12 to 6, that's a big gap.
Sure.
And I don't expect the government to be that efficient.
Yeah, right. Well, our faith certainly was not in the government.
No.
But hey, at the same time, roughly the same time, we started, looking at this passage at our fellowship, Matthew 7:7, where Jesus said, "Ask and you'll receive, seek and you'll find, knock and the door will be open to you." And so, man, we started asking, and so we just kind of got a little gutsy out there one day about a month ago, and I said, "Hey, would you guys, if we're gonna be take Jesus up on this invitation and this command, really, would you guys join us in asking for something?" So we asked our fellowship to ask the Lord to provide this passport before we had to leave on a certain date, and that date was September 27th. Okay, so we needed the passport prior to September 27th. We'll kind of fast forward the story just a little bit because we kept praying. We put it out on our daily broadcast. We put it out on our, during our worship times. One of our guys from our fellowship that serves with us was doing a bluegrass festival. He put it out to about 500 people at a bluegrass festival. They stopped and prayed for this passport at that bluegrass. Did I tell you that?
Amid the banjo breakdown?
Yeah, right.
Fantastic.
At any rate, and so lots of people, and I've been getting texts for weeks now, phone calls, "What about the passport? What about the passport? What about the passport?" And so, long story short, we get up to last Thursday, or what day did we get our COVID test? Friday. Get up to last Friday, and Matt is telling me that, he said, "Look, it's not come," and he about pick it up from there. You just kind of tell what happened.
Well, on Wednesday, you start pinging me like every 4 hours, I think. You got the passport yet? Passport yet? You got the passport yet? And no, Todd still don't have the passport. Thank you for reminding me. My faith is still not strong. Okay, but Friday, my wife, who is a lot smarter than me, she says, "You know what? Have you gone to the State Department's website to figure out where it's at?" "Oh, yeah, you can do that on the interweb these days. You can track things like that." So I get on there, and sure enough, to my great delight, I find that the day before it had been approved and marked shipped. Matter of fact, they even had this little link I could click on, and now I've got a tracking number. And it was supposed to be there Friday, but it were not.
Right.
And then it was supposed to be there Saturday, and it were not. I got to tell you, I believe that God can do anything. I really do. But when you ask for something like that, more often than not in my life, when I ask, "God, would you do this? Would you do this or that?" The answer is usually no, right? And the scripture says, "Ask and you will receive." And a lot of times I've asked and I'm not received. I think there's a lot of reasons behind that. But that being said, in this particular case, I knew 6 weeks ago I was supposed to go. I knew it. And I knew that if it was going to happen, only God could make it happen, because the government sure wasn't going to do it. And so here, it's Saturday, and the mail has run, and I can't tell you how my heart just sank, because we're leaving Monday. and the mail don't run on Sunday.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? The mail
Normally.
does not run on
Normally,
Sunday.
right?
Oh, everybody knows that. So, well, Todd, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to figure something else out. Can you get me in touch with Corey? Maybe I can switch my ticket to Tuesday, or I'm not leaving any later than Wednesday. So we just kind of left it at that. But the next morning I get
Well,
up.
hang on, back up for a second, because you remember even Friday morning when we were talking about when I messaged you and I said, hey, we're going to get our COVID test. You know.
Oh yeah.
Good. And then
I didn't want to do that.
yeah, you weren't going to get the test.
Yeah, why get the COVID test when I don't even know for sure yet if I'm going to go? But that's moving out in faith, isn't it?
Yeah, but what changed that?
Well, what changed it is I screwed up. I was doing trim work in my house and trying to do baseboard, and to come to find out that mixed in with all the right baseboard, I've got one that's not right, and I have to get this done. So, okay, I'm going to go into town anyway. And just as I'm packing up to go into town anyway, you say, hey, remember we're going to get our COVID test done? I'm like, yeah. Well, okay, I guess I'm going in. But you know what?
It's about that time when you
It was
found
about
that
that
tracking
time.
deal.
About that time. Actually, it was as I'm leaving. I said, all right. And Lisa, she says, State Department. Okay, go to the link. And yes, there it is. It left yesterday.
Shipped.
And then I called you. Hey, guess what? I'm so excited. You know,
He said,
yeah.
I think I'm going to go ahead and come get that COVID test.
I sound like a little high school girl, man. I was so excited.
And you know what? Sunday morning, Corey, you remember Sunday morning you said during our service, it still had not come. It didn't come Saturday. It hadn't come by Sunday. And during the service, you said something about, you were trying to encourage the people that we're still going to pray and ask the Lord for a miracle. But you said something about, you started from the beginning. You said originally it was supposed to take 15 weeks, but it has shipped as of Friday. Yeah. Remember when you said that?
Yeah, a lot of times our faith, we just kind of package the answer in such a specific way that I think sometimes we can miss out on God's ultimate blessing. I mean, God had already answered our prayer. The fact that came, it was already in process and it was already on the way well before. I mean, what is that, 9 weeks before they had said it was even possible, with it even expedited. So the fact that it was coming, man, just kind of pumped me up, gave me a little shot in the arm after visiting with Matt Friday, and it wasn't showing up because I texted him too. I added to I doubled down, hey, passport. But no, seriously, I like that leaning in factor to our faith. They say, okay, God, is it today? Is it now? Almost like a kid at Christmas. But yeah, Sunday morning, that faith that God already answered that. So I said, okay, so today we're going to change our prayer request. I'd asked Matt, I said, hey, do you know if this is priority mail? Because with COVID and a lot of shipping requirements and low staffing, a lot of places, including yours and mine, United States Postal Service, started shipping priority mail on Sundays. I said, hey man, this may be possible. It may be coming today. And then somewhere along the lines, you saw the word Shreveport. And for us in East Texas, we know that's one stop away.
Right,
it's coming from that distribution center. So, man, my faith was growing with every word, with every thought.
Right. So go ahead.
Well, you know, that's not necessarily a done deal for me, because I've seen it go from Shreveport to Dangerfield to Little Rock, back to Shreveport, just to get, yeah. So your faith may,
You know how we do this?
your faith may have been strong, but my experience was stronger.
Well,
You just got me thinking about Daniel. You know, remember when he began fasting and praying,
Sure.
and 21 days later, the angel shows up and said, the day you start praying, God released me. But I was being withstood by the prince of, was it the prince of Persia? Yeah. He withstood me 21 days. But the moment you started praying, God released me.
man, you know, so it's Sunday morning. We say this we have two services, and we say this in our early service. I can't remember exactly what we said in that service, but I just asked the church, I said, do you believe God can make the mail run on Sunday? And the church just shouted out, yeah, you know, and I thought, oh, Lord, what am I going to do? Because I don't want to set things up. And what if I hate to admit this, but there was always this thought in the back of my mind, what are we going to say? What's it going to say? But the Lord's going to tell us something anyway. The Lord's going to prevail through this. But I couldn't not ask for that, you know?
And I'm so sick of these weak, pansy prayers That we're calling and that we're
Yeah.
training our kids and our youth to pray, oh God, just
If it-
keep us safe on this church bus that we're able to have with these nice comfy seats as we go to this expensive camp that we can do. And all those things are great. And
What
everything,
kind of
but
kingdom
I'm so
faith prayer is that?
Yeah, I'm just sick of these safe prayers. And so when we put that out there, when you said that to our congregation, and then it was repeated over broadcast and over Facebook and other people we come in contact with, I said, yeah, God's name is on it, and that's where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because if anything's going to happen here, two things have got to happen. God's got to answer, and we got to be all in. And so when we said that, I'm telling you, yeah, God's name was at stake.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, that's where it ought to be.
Yeah.
That's where the onus ought to be.
And that's the way we prayed in that first service. I said, Lord, for the sake of your great name, not that we were trying to put God over a barrel or get him in a spot where he had to do something, but at the same time, he told us to ask. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the same Jesus who said, man, behold, I give to you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. You know, and so So we're asking, we prayed, Lord, for the sake of your great name, because now there's a lot of people involved in this thing. And so I didn't even get a chance to tell Corey what happened. Between the services, there was a guy that was waiting to talk to me, and I had to meet him in my office, and so I got an hour between services. I'm talking to this guy when another guy busts into my office, and it's a guy that's not normally in our early service, but he happens to have some United States Postal Service connections, and he just said, hey, did you say that thing was in Shreveport? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you have a tracking number for it? I said, I do. He said, would you mind sharing it with me? And I said, okay, I'll text it to you in just a minute. So I texted it to him. He said, would you mind if I go down to the post office and to see if it's there? And so I said, man, you know, if that's what you think the Lord's telling you to do. And so, man, I sent him that tracking number, which I wouldn't have even had it if Matt hadn't sent it to me. And I can't remember why you sent me the tracking number. I think I asked for it.
I can't either.
I don't know why. Anyway, I'd asked for it a couple days before. He gave me the tracking number, and I tried to look it up and couldn't find anything. I was wanting to watch along with you.
Well, yeah, the link had disappeared on me. I couldn't find the link after that to figure out even where it came from.
Huh. Well, so this guy said, look, I can get on my computer inside the post office and run it on the internal system. And it was just really neat. And as a matter of fact, it's amazing too how the permissions were on this piece of mail, because it was no signature required. It was stamped on the thing, and all the things that had to happen. He said when he walked in there and pulled it up on the computer, he said this is his literal words. He said, man, I was a Thomas. To be honest with you, I knew something was happening, and I just wanted the Lord. I wanted that prayer to be answered. And I knew something inside me just felt that like I'm supposed to go down there and do this, but my mind was thinking there's no way this is going to work, because it's going to be on a truck, or it's going to be sealed, or it's going to be this, or it's going to be that. And then I wish we had him here to tell the whole story, but all the things that happened, 3 things happened when he got to the post office, and he said it made it more evident. I became more of a Thomas. And he said, then the next thing I know, there that thing was sitting in a box right in front of me, and I said, that's it right there, what I need. And so what was really cool was I didn't even get a chance to tell Corey that was happening, and he said something about, you know, we don't want to put our hands to this thing, but we didn't. We just prayed and mentioned it the first service. So when I get done preaching in the second service, man, I've already prayed. The people are standing. I'm about to read a verse of scripture over them and send them on their way to be the church. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm like the kids walking around Jericho, and we already did the 6th lap. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm getting ready to shout. I just don't know when it's going to come.
Right.
So I've got my phone. I mean, I'm trying to listen to the message. I already heard it in the first service.
Yeah, right.
And I keep checking my phone, thinking, okay, Matt's about to tell me I got it. Matt's about to tell me I got it. You know, and in my mind, I got my sanctified imagination going, okay, what's the phrase going to be? What's it going to say when it comes across there that we're going to get to shout? Or if I find out before Pastor does, what am I going to get out in the middle of this message? And I'm getting excited and pumped. Well, the end of the service comes,
yeah,
and I go up on stage as we conclude our service like we usually do, and I take my phone with me, and I keep looking. Well, Pastor's wrapping it up.
Yeah, I turned around. I thought, hey, let me just show you where my faith is, folks. Before I dismiss you, let me check my phone. 6 minutes before I checked my phone is when that text came. I didn't see it because, I mean, obviously I didn't have my ringer on. was on vibrate, sitting over by my chair. I walked over to my chair, grabbed my phone, and looked, and this guy had texted me, and I read it silently at first. In my hand. It's in my hands. Woo. It's in my hands is what the text said. Man. And then I shouted it on the microphone. I think it's probably distorted. I said, it's in my hands. It's in my, and man, the church just went nuts,
crazy,
man.
Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Explosion.
Yeah, it was crazy cool, and not only that, man, the phone started blowing up, and some folks were watching online, and then I don't know if we were still broadcasting on the radio. I think it was actually 2 minutes after 12 when that happened, so our broadcast shuts off at 12, and we're normally not finished lately, but anyway, it was really cool just to see the people's response and for the Lord to be glorified. So obviously,
and so many people are connected with this story. That's why it's a God story, and not only the answer, but it's a God story in the process. From the man Sunday morning said, "Can I go down there and check?" To the ladies on our broadcast every time asking passport. To your fellowship, Matt, praying about it. To John down here in Honduras, praying about it and seeking the Lord. I want us to fast forward though, because I want to bring John on that same thought that we had when we were coming down here, and I want to combine it with that thought of safe prayers. We got in the truck early, whatever day this is. My days are twisted.
Today's still Monday.
Oh, it's still Monday. Wow, okay.
Early
same day.
Yeah. But we got in the truck. We came down here. We were
1:30 this morning.
Pumped and excited. But this thought came out. Man, I think it was you that said it. What should we be praying for now?
Yeah.
What are we supposed to be praying for now, Lord? If you can do this with a small little booklet from the U.S. government with stamps and pen and my picture on it, if you can do it with this little thing in the Postal Service, what should we be praying for now?
Yeah.
And that kind of reckless, if you will, an all-in kind of faith prayer for something like that. I mean, even you that are out there listening to this right now, what is it that God is putting in front of you that you just can't get your hands off of it? That you just need Him to take it, but you keep putting your hands to it because you're afraid. I don't want to put Him. I don't put that much pressure on Him to answer this.
Right.
And here we are sitting at a table with a brother who 10 years ago had a moment where it was an all-in kind of moment, no safe prayers involved, because we're talking about not just him,
right,
but his wife, his family, their inheritance, their careers, and stuff like that. So I'd love for us to kind of segue this thought into what God is doing and why we are where we are, and why the passport even matters.
Let's do that. Hey, and let's do that this way. John, if we could impose upon you to do this, man, would you just share with these people a little bit about the story about how you ended up in Honduras? What God had to do to get you to the place where you're serving, where you are and have been now for 10 years?
Well, it started with just a simple missionary presentation at our church on a Sunday morning. It was a mission Sunday, and our pastor had called in some short-term missionaries that he knew from his previous church, and they came in and they did their little missionary presentation about Honduras. You know, they showed a little slideshow, and they had a little table set up with some baskets and some crafts that came from Honduras, and they were really just inviting people to join their team to go to Honduras.
Why do I feel like I have this picture in my mind right now of the two people that were standing before you, the crafts on the table? I think everybody's kind of
right. We've all seen that demonstration, right?
Everybody, typical little missionary presentation. But service was over, and my wife Karen came up to me and she said, "Well, what'd you think?" And I said, "Well, it's a nice little presentation that I've seen 1,000 times before." But that's not something I'm interested in. And she said, okay. And then later that was on a Sunday morning. Later that day, I think I was driving somewhere. I think I had bought something from someone, and I was driving about 30 minutes or so to pick up that item and meet them somewhere. And I don't know, I was just meditating, and God just got a hold of me, and He said, I want you to go to Honduras for me. And I actually pulled over on the side of the interstate and stopped for a minute, and I argued with him. I said, "I'm not interested in that. I don't like Mexican food. I said, that's not for me." And so I finally gave in, and I came on back to the house. It was already getting later in the afternoon, and Karen was getting ready for church that night, and I walked in, and I said, well, guess what? And she said, what? And I said, well, God got a hold of me on my way down the interstate, and I think I'd like to go to Honduras. And she said, well, it's a good thing, because I've already told God I was going whether you're going or not. So, that's basically how we got started. We came we both knew, and our son, I believe, he may have been 11 at the time, and he really felt the calling to come too. But this particular team had to be 18 years old, and we tried to get Andrew to be able to come with us, but he was not allowed. And of course, we came that year on just a week-long trip with a group out of Clinton, Arkansas, and we had just a life-changing experience. And when we left that week, we were going up the escalator at the airport, getting ready to fly out on a Saturday morning, and Karen was in front of me, and she turned around, and she was kind of emotional, and I was already emotional, and she just said, it feels like we're leaving home. And I said, me too.
Man.
So that's basically how we got started. God was involved from the very start. You know, we didn't see it then, but we can look back now and see every little thing that he put in place, every little piece that he put in place. It was not a easy transition for us or our family, but that's where God wanted us, so that's where we went.
Man, earlier today, John was sharing with us just the rest of the story about how what God did, all the things the Lord did when He called them here, the jobs that they gave up. Man, I mean, this guy was. What was your position at the hospital? You were like janitor or something?
No. Wrong with the janitor.
No, my apologies.
Environmental services.
Oh, environmental services, my bad.
No, I was a manager of facilities at a hospital, and I really enjoyed my job.
Yeah, he had a great job. His wife was a school teacher, one of our local school systems, and but God was so very clear, and man, just moved them with passion and desire. John and Karen and I, had known each other for a long time, but we had not really been around each other much, up at that point, because the Lord had moved us in different places of ministry, not far from one another. But man, when I started hearing about what was taking place, and it all happened real fast, and it was super encouraging to me this morning just to hear you talk about what God did and the way that they sold everything they had, quit their jobs, and just came here within a few weeks, and have been here 10 years now. Yeah.
Wow. But that mindset that John, you and Karen and your family and even your friends, that's not a typical prayer life. That's not a typical response. Unfortunately, we sing those songs of surrender and sacrifice all the time. We know what the word calls us to, but to really, Matt, you're a pastor, to put that out there, to put our life in a way, said, okay, God, here I am on your altar. Whatever you want to do with me, let's do it. It is a pretty risky place to be, is it not?
Oh, yeah, you risk looking stupid if you living by faith and it's just not working out.
That's a real fear, I think, for a lot of us.
Sure. I think for us, even just praying for this passport thing, there were some people like there's one dude in our church. He's really cool. He's funny too. But he said, "Man, Pastor, no offense, bro, but I've been thinking this whole time, man, I'm gonna join you, bro. I'm gonna have people pray with you, bro." He said, "But if it don't happen, you made God look really bad. You're like a moron, man." I was like, "Hey, look, those thoughts do enter our minds, but you can't let those things. We said this a couple of weeks ago. What's the worst thing that can happen when you ask the Lord for something? Yeah, He has to tell you no." And by the way, why does He have to tell us no sometimes when we ask Him for things? You said a while ago, a lot of times in your life, you've asked the Lord for something and it was no. Why does He have to tell us no sometimes? Why does He tell us no sometimes?
He tells us no so that we learn to align ourselves with His will.
Man, I thought about, is it John 15:17? No, it's in the book Gospel of John. Y'all read the whole thing. You'll find it there somewhere. Maybe it is chapter 15, where He says, if you'll abide in me and my words abide in you, you can ask what you desire and it'll be done for you. But that's exactly what you just said, though. That's why in 1 John chapter 5 it says, if we ask anything according to His will, we know that He hears us. And if we know that He hears us, then we know we receive the petitions we desired of Him, because we're praying in accordance with His will. And in John's gospel there, when he says, if we abide in Him and His word abides in us, then we can ask what we desire, because our desire has been conformed to His will. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too much different than being a child, I guess. I mean, you're born into the kingdom, you are a child, and so you ask for things like a child would. You know, things that aren't necessarily good for you.
Right.
And any good father, if the child asks them for a hand grenade, is not going to give them a hand grenade. That's dumb. The child doesn't know any better.
Right.
And the way the child learns better is they'll ask, and the father will say no.
Well,
That's
is it
bad
say
for you.
is it James 4 maybe, or James 3, where he says you have not because you ask not, but you ask and receive not because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your own selfish desires. Yeah.
Hey, going with that thought, you said, Matt, about a father and a child. You know, we as fathers, all of us have the blessing and the privilege of being owning that title. Man, we want our kids to be safe. We don't want our kids to be in harm's way. There's not a day in our life, whether it's the vehicle we choose for them to drive when they become age, whether it's the friends they hang out with, or whether it's knowing where they're going to be and whatnot. We like them to be in that environment where their body, soul, and spirit is kept. Well, I love what Jesus says about the Father and us. He says, in His hand. You said that text message that came through.
It's in my hand.
You really want to talk about a safe place to be when you make that reckless prayer to say, God, whatever you want me to do. Guess what? He doesn't throw us out there in the darkness. He doesn't throw us estranged from Him and His blessings, but instead what He does, He just takes us by the hand and draws us near. And there's something about the safety that we really do have when we do hold on to Him and we do count on His name. Whether it's, hey, I'm going to take my whole family, I'm going to take my whole life, I'm going to take my whole inheritance, I'm putting it all on the line, God, and I'm going where you tell me. Oh, it's Honduras? Well, here we come.
Absolutely.
Whether that's you following the Lord's leadership and leading a group of men like God has called you to do, or whether it's going on a mission trip. I know you've talked about that before with even the risk of flying to Brazil and
right.
Whatever it may be. There's something about that thought. It's in my hand.
Right.
That's where He wants us to be.
Mm-hmm. But it changes everything, though, when you know, like, okay, this scenario here. By the time you get to Passport, bro, and we're getting to the truck at 1:30 this morning, there's no doubt in your mind that this wasn't just something you wanted to do. This was something the Lord intended for you.
Yeah. Well, it all started before that, too, because the very first obstacle I had to pass was my wife. Because let me tell you, I have made a lot of mistakes in my marriage, particularly when it comes to ministry, placing that above my family to their destruction. I've caused a lot of damage, and so I'd made this determination a couple of years ago. No matter what comes after, I know the Lord wants me to place my family as a priority, and that He wants me that to be my first discipleship. He wants it to be my first ministry. And if I get that right, if I'm doing that right, then He's going to add to that ministry these other things. Yeah. So my wife, I brought this up before. Actually, you and I had talked about going to, no, it was me and this guy, Rich Harmson, talking about going to Belize a couple of years ago. Oh. And I mentioned to her, and she got all mad about it. She says, why do you want to go there? There's plenty of people need Christ right here. Why in the world would you want to go?
Right.
You know. Okay, all right. And so I knew very well where she stood on the subject. As a matter of fact, before 2 weeks before you brought it up, Todd, it had been something in my mind, and I actually said something about it. Oh, we wanted to go to Israel, make a trip to Israel. And boy, she just went off on me. She said, I can't believe you do something so reckless and put yourself in danger, all this kind of thing. All right, so whenever you and I had that talk, I said, well, the first thing I do is got to talk to my wife, and I know how that's going to go. I know exactly how that's going to go. I know exactly what she's going to say. No, I don't. Because I went and I said, you know what, hon? You're first, and the family is first, and I want to do this thing, but if you say no, I'm not going to do it. And she dropped her head, and she said, you know what? Just yesterday, God has been dealing with me about this. Just yesterday, he brought to me a verse, and it made it clear of what I'm supposed to say, and my answer is yes. You go. So I had that release from her, having that, that partnership, because right now she's back home taking care of the child. I'm here in another country, gallivanting around in a really nice place. I got to see really great people, but that she's back there doing the hard thing so that I can minister, right? So that was the first obstacle.
Sure.
Hey, shout out to our wives out there right here, right now. We love you. We
better buy some
appreciate you holding it
flowers.
down, okay?
Man,
Get them
I
flowers,
I was just fixing to say when all of us sitting here, and I can't speak for you yet, John, but I happen to know for the other three of us sitting here, when Matt said I've caused some real damage in my marriage because of ministry priorities, I know that's a fact in my own marriage. I know I've done that, and Corey and I have talked about that as well. Hey, I'm going to say this to you guys that may not be aware that listen to this stuff. Look, your pastor and his wife are one, and it's just real easy for pastors to mess things up sometimes, get things out of priority. So man, never give your pastor grief over time when he selects his family over other ministry opportunities, because if he loses the family ministry, he's missed the whole thing. And I'm preaching to myself again, even on this trip, with a similar thing for me. I was like, I don't know, because see, my wife is a go-getter too. My wife wants to go and do. I really wish she was sitting right here beside me right now. I want my wife to be here.
I told Sarah when I was up, we got to go to this lookout. John took us this lookout up in Villanueva. It's beautiful. And when I was texting her about it, sent her a picture. She said, "Oh, I wish I was there." I said, "Babe, literally, when I walked out of that car and stood there, that's the only thing I could think of. I wanted you right there with me." So, love you, Sarah.
Well,
very much.
But one of the things I told Debbie yesterday, just before we left, and at some point in the process, it was several weeks ago, we were looking at calendars and things, and I still wasn't sure. This was before we bought tickets and things. And she said, "Now you're going to." She I don't know if she realized that she said this way, but when she said it, I knew that it was supposed to happen. She said, "Now you're going to Honduras. When?" But for me, anyway, it was one of those moments. But yeah, I told her just last night, man, one of the reasons why I'm here, to be honest with you, is, man, we're here scouting this place out. I want to see this place first, and I want to see, is this a suitable place I can bring my wife? Is this a suitable place I can bring my kids? Because I really want them to see this stuff. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Whew. Well, man, I was thinking about this a minute ago before you started saying that. Several years ago, Debbie and I were at the house. We were living in Ogden, Arkansas. And the Lord had opened up a door for this little singing group she had to do some recording, and man, it was crazy what happened. We had an offer from a guy in Nashville that he would let us stay at his house. He would hook us up with the studio and all the musicians if we just come there and let him.
Arkansas?
Yeah, Nashville, Arkansas. No, Nashville, Tennessee. We were going to make this recording in Texarkana until, due to the ice storm, we meet this guy in a freak deal. So the Lord just put that together. But long story short, we're sitting at our house one day trying to figure out how could we get the money together to do that. Even though he made us a great offer, we still didn't have the money to do it. And the doorbell rang. And I answered the doorbell, and there's a dude standing there. I'd seen him before, but I really didn't know him. And he said, "Hey, my name is so-and-so." And he said, isn't your wife Debbie? And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Doesn't she have a singing group?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, somebody told us that they have a chance to make a recording. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "My wife's dying of cancer. We just came into some money." And I asked her, "What do you want to do with it?" And she said, "I don't know that woman down there, but I want to pay for them to go record." He had his checkbook in his hand, and he said, "How much you need me to write this check to you for?" Well, in that moment, you would think that's one of those moments where you just jump up and down and do the little hallelujah, whoa, praise God. But it didn't land on us that way because, not only the whole circumstance with their family dynamic, but for us, it was the realization, oh, this isn't just something we want to do. This is something you're saying we're going to do. Because now you've made a way. This isn't just our idea. This is God's idea. That changed everything about that project from that point forward. And what if we lived our whole lives that way about everything? Seeking, asking, seeking, and knocking. You said something yesterday, Corey. Okay, we've been on Matthew 7:7 now, bro, in our church our church is like, how can you milk one verse for 3 years, man? But but we've been on Matthew 7:7 for like 6 weeks, I think, and we haven't even got to knock yet. We just talked about ask, and we've been talking about seeking. And then, what did you say about this trip?
So we asked for this passport, and then the weekend came. We were seeking it for it to come in the mail, but now that it's here, we're coming down to Honduras to knock. So, okay, God, why don't you do all this? Why don't you set it up? And I think too many times we ask, but then we don't even seek, or even if we ask and seek, we don't take the responsibility to position ourselves in the moment, in the place where God has set us up.
Right, absolutely.
That's what we've done. That's why we're here.
And here's what we acknowledge, too, even in this moment right now. What God is doing may not have anything to do with Honduras. It may have something to do with somebody who's listening to this podcast right now and saying, okay, I just heard you, Lord. I just heard you to get up off my laurels, to not be afraid to ask you for something or to step out. I just heard you remind me to seek you, and now I know you're saying it's time to go knock on the door you just showed me to go to. I really like what Matt said. Matt said, hey, from my military, how did you say that? He said something about his military experience.
The way we knock on the door is with a size 12 boot.
but the point we were making with that was, by the time it's time to do the knocking, you've already done the asking and the seeking. You've gotten the provision and the authority. You know you're going on kingdom authority at that point. You don't have to knock lightly.
Amen.
Go knock like you're ready to knock the door in, because he's already showed you. Just go get it. Go get it. Man, I was thinking about this. Somebody said, man, as a matter of fact, who was that? Another Matt in our church came to me after church Sunday. He said, man, I want to jump up and just say this. He said, somebody else in that church house or listening to that broadcast today, they need a passport too. They don't know it's already there. Yeah. It's there. It's there. They just got to go get it. It's in his hand. Man.
What's crazy about that, it wasn't in my hand. I'm the one that needed the passport.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what? That morning, just as you guys were starting your service, the peace of the Holy Spirit settled on me. And I began to pray. I said, God, your will be done. Yeah. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. Yeah, and I didn't worry about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't stress about it. I didn't strive for it. I was just in perfect peace in that moment, knowing that whatever happened, God had it. Mm-hmm. And I did nothing in this story. Nothing. Nothing. It's the guy that was at your church,
right?
Another state away.
Matt calls me because I texted him. I said, "It's gonna be weird." I texted him. He's expecting it to come in the mail to his house. I texted him. I said, "I have your passport." So he calls me. As a matter of fact, some of you guys that know us saw this. We did a little Facebook Live because the guy called me and said, "I'll be in your driveway in 2 minutes." So I just started this little live video, and I'm talking about this whole experience while he drives up in the driveway. Well, while I'm talking to him, as he hands me the passport, Matt Fisk here, my phone rings while I'm doing this, and Matt Fisk here calls me, and here's what I say. Listen, guys, I got to answer this call. And Matt says, hey, I got a really confusing text from you. I need to know what this means. I said, dude, you're not going to believe it, but I am holding your passport in my hand. He said, how does that happen? How do you have it? How did it come to you? Only God. As a matter of fact, John was the very first person that commented on that live feed. And I don't know how you managed to see that or stumble across that just at that time. But the very first comment, what was your comment?
Only God.
Only God. Only God. So anyway, I didn't even see that till later on. And, man, I just thought that's cool because I had messaged John, hey, looks like it's going to be all three of us now. But anyway, the Lord's good. So we got to get in a plane at 1:30 this morning. No, we didn't get in a plane. We got your truck.
You didn't drive that fast.
No, you didn't drive that fast. Got in Corey's truck. We drove to Dallas and flew to Atlanta, and then flew here and had a great late lunch with John, and are here at this mission center and looking forward. We had a great time this afternoon meeting a pastor, Pastor Alvin,
Albin.
and hearing the work that that the Lord is using him to do with a couple hundred kids in the city right up the road from us, and in this town right up the road, man, that's an amazing ministry. And also where we sit is hey John, by the way, what's the web address for this ministry?
The website for the Honduras Baptist Dental Mission is medicaldental.org.
medicaldental.org if you want to check them out on their website. They also have a Facebook page, I think. As we sit here on a Monday night, next Monday, well, this coming Saturday, a team's going to be flying in here, and they'll spend, I think John said they'll spend Saturday or spend Sunday packing medical bags, packing medicines and things, and then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they'll have a clinic. It's already completely booked. It'll be a free clinic here. And they'll have how many you said? 100. You're going to see 150 patients a day for 3 days.
That's correct.
It's already completely booked. 75 in the AM, 75 in the PM for 3 days straight. Already lined out. So that's going to be happening right here on this premises next week, and we're excited just to be a little part of this. Anyway, well, hey, for those of you guys who just are kind of our regular listeners, I'd say our normal listeners, but if you listen to this podcast, you're probably not real normal. I know it's been a little while since my son Andrew has been able to get on here. This was his brainchild. He's the guy that started this. He does this a lot. He gets things started and I end up having to finish them. I don't know how that works out. No, I'm not finishing this one. You guys keep praying for Drew. He's got a new position with the Marine Corps, and, man, it is requiring a lot of his time as a recruiter. I will say this. If you know anybody that wants to join the Marine Corps, man, find me, send me a message. I can hook you up with a good recruiter who would hug your neck. That would help him out some. But at any rate, no, he's getting settled there, and it's been a while since he's been able to record with me, but we're working out the details where we can get something done together. In the meantime, just going to do some things with some other friends. Appreciate your prayers for him and all of your encouragement. And look, we'll have some more for you. As a matter of fact, we're probably, before we leave Honduras, we're going to make another one of these and share some more things with you. Thank you guys for listening. And if you want to talk to somebody about a relationship with Christ, let me just remind you again, shoot me an email, brot, B-R-O-T at windstream.net, B-R-O-T at windstream.net. If you'd like to talk to my son Andrew, he'd love to talk to some of you guys if you need somebody to talk to, or just an email and I can forward something to him. Thanks for listening. Look forward to being with you guys next time.